Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to ROG Pulse, the weekly show where we dive into all things tech and gaming. I'm your host, Jake Kalinsky, with my co-host, Whitson Gordon. Whitson, what is good, my friend?
How much? How you doing, man?
Little under the weather, I'll be honest, but beyond that...
Story of this winter, man, I'm telling you. I just feel like my kids are sick like every other week, and I'm like, don't breathe, don't get it. Like
the struggle. No one wants that.
I know, it's rough.
But hey, we got some gaming news, we got some tech news, and we got a main topic today of Dolby Atmos and the benefits of that.
One of my favorite topics.
Yeah.
I could talk about this for like 3 hours.
You say that about a lot of topics, and it's all true.
I can do that about a lot of topics. You spend 10 years writing like how-to guides and explainers for all this nerdy tech stuff, and you just become one of those people that can't stop talking about nerdy tech stuff. It makes you really weird at parties. But
it's kind of weird that you have a job where
you
actually
job,
like do that where you...
Yeah. I know, it worked out really well for me. Oh, man. But yeah, so what's up, Conga Maniac? The first kind of piece of news this week is the AMD Ryzen 7000 3D V-Cache processors are on their way. They have an actual release date. The Ryzen 9 7950X3D and the 7900X3D are coming on February 28th. That's real soon. The 7800X3D is going to be a little bit longer. That's coming on April 6th. So if you are looking to build an AM5 machine with one of the best gaming processors in existence right now, your time has come.
Yeah, these are going to be beasts.
Dude, I'm excited. This is like, I was excited when AM5 launched, and I was excited when the new Ryzen 7000 series processors launched, but this is where things get really interesting.
Yeah. The X3D chips last gen were so good.
Yeah, the one X3D chip last gen was amazing.
Yeah.
And it was the 5800X3D. It wasn't like a 900 series X3D processor. I just lost you. Did you disappear? Did you crash?
No.
Okay, cool. I just don't see the stream anymore, but that's okay.
Huh.
You're bring it back.
I mean, it
well,
shows
I talk
that it's
about
active. That's weird.
Yeah, that's very strange.
Oh, on Discord I got disconnected. That's weird. Anyways,
technology.
It hates us.
It hates us. Hates us the most. All right. The other thing that I saw this week that I know we're both bummed about is that Star Wars Jedi Survivor has been delayed, but only by 6 weeks.
I'm not bummed because this is not a long delay, and March is already super stacked. We got Resident Evil 4. We've got The Last of Us coming to PC, which I've still never played. Last of Us Part 1 comes out, and I was already like legitimately like, I have to schedule extra streams so I can make sure I finish these games in time to be able to get to the next game. And this way...
Yeah, this actually works out well for us.
Yeah, because April was already kind of a light month. And you know, what did they say? April 28th? Why not May 4th? That's all I'm going to say. But
what the heck?
You know, whatever.
It was right there in front of you.
Yeah, it's an opportunity missed and lost, but April 28th is
be with you.
But yeah, I'm not really bummed. I'm like, you know what? It's a good date. It's a good date.
Yeah, no, it is actually nice to have a little bit more breathing room there. So I'm really looking forward to that game. I don't know if I'm going to play it right at launch, but I might. We'll see. I have a lot of far less important games on my list, so it's kind of like, well, I could wait until it goes on sale and play these other games that are going to be not as good, or I could just buy Jedi Survivor on day one and play it because it's going to be the best one.
It looks really good, and I was super. I mean, I just beat Fallen Order last week.
It was good, right?
It was very good, like
really good.
Way better than I expected. Because I'm super critical about Star Wars content.
I know you are.
Yeah, I'm super critical, and I have no problems with it, like zero. I thought it was really good.
It was, yeah. Of all the like Star Wars stories that have come out in the recent past, it's one of the best ones.
I agree.
I think. Yeah, I liked it a lot.
I agree.
In other news, Cyberpunk 2077 gets DLSS 3 this week, with an even more intense ray tracing preset to come soon to go with DLSS 3, which is okay. Why not? Just keep pushing it as far as we can go. But man, I'll tell you, if ever a game deserved DLSS 3, it's Cyberpunk. Because
Yeah.
not only is it like pretty tough to run, but also what's more Cyberpunk than an AI frame generation
It's
running your game?
that is true. That is true.
It's like
No,
this is the Cyberpunk gaming future.
the game is such an incredible engine. You know, it looks so good, and to be able to push those high frame rates in 4K with these new generation of GPUs and CPUs, and of course these technologies like DLSS 3 it's just exciting because the game is just going to keep feeling better. And I've still gotten very, very little way in, but I know lots of people are super into it. Like Lane,
Lane really likes it.
Yeah, he loves it.
I'm happy to see that they're like continuing to support it in this way, right? Because the launch, it did have a slightly rocky launch, and it got a lot better. But you know, some developers would just say, "All right, like, you know, cut our losses and move on." Whereas CD Projekt Red has done a good job of continuing to support, continuing to improve, continuing to make it better and better and better, even when they don't necessarily have to, right? It's really cool to see them. I mean, it's because it's such a showcase of these latest technologies.
It is.
It would be a shame to have something like DLSS 3 come out and not be able to try it in,
Absolutely.
like, you know, what is basically the modern day Crisis.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt of that. I mean, that is the game. When I first built this PC, what did I boot up? It was Cyberpunk. When I first got the 42-inch OLED, Cyberpunk. Like there's no question.
When I first put this 4090 in, what did I benchmark it with? Cyberpunk.
Yeah, there's just no question about that.
I also read that Amazon is making another Tomb Raider movie. So this is going to be the third reboot of the Tomb Raider franchise, and Netflix is making a Tomb Raider show, like an anime or something. So more Tomb Raider. Let's see what happens this time. I guess they were gonna make a sequel to the last reboot, but it got canceled. Did you see it? It was pretty fun.
No. So this is one of my gaming sins, and I have never played or consumed any Tomb Raider content ever.
Really?
I know nothing about Lara Croft, except her name.
I only played like bits and pieces of the originals, like way back in the day. I was not like a big, you know, consumer of the franchise, but I played the reboot when it came out, and Rise of the Tomb Raider, the sequel, and they were really good. They're really fun, in terms of just like story driven, kind of like single player. It's you know, it was one of the first games that I played on an ultra wide screen, and there are some cutscenes in that game that are just like, whoa. And there's this scene where she's like climbing up to the top of a radio tower or something, and you get vertigo watching her do this if you're playing on a big enough monitor. It's just like one of those kinds of things. And so the game really impressed me for that reason. And it was a great example of a reboot really well done.
Yeah, it was.
But I can't believe they're just gonna keep cranking out movies.
Why not? I mean, we're actually seeing really good video game adaptations like The Last of Us. My friend just said that episode 2 was his favorite episode of any TV ever. And I haven't watched any of it. I haven't played the game. I kind of want to play the game first. But for someone to say it was their favorite episode of any TV ever is just like, whoa.
That's them's strong words.
Yeah, so it's good to be seeing, you know, strong adaptation. I know it's been doing really well on HBO. And you know, I hope for good content to continue coming out, because
let's start seeing some like solid video game.
You know, you just said the word solid, and I was actually just thinking there was a Metal Gear Solid adaptation in the works, but I haven't heard anything about that in years. So there's certain things that I'd like Kojima to get the rights to make a Metal Gear Solid film. That would be the coolest thing ever. Because
do you think he would do it though?
Yeah.
Because Kojima strikes me as one of those guys where he's like really invested in the medium that he excels at, right? And that
he's
that
a film
medium
nerd,
in ways
though.
that don't necessarily train. Yeah, that's true.
He's like mega film nerd, and I think I could see him working with Del Toro and making a masterpiece.
Man, that'd be sick.
That's my dream. Kojima and Del Toro making a Metal Gear Solid film. I don't know who I'd cast for it, but I want Metal Gear Solid 2 as a film. That's my absolute favorite Metal Gear Solid game.
I mean, you could do it. Like this last Tomb Raider movie was more of an adaptation of the second game than the first game.
Yeah. There's a lot of different parts of the story.
Also, Care GG says, haven't there only been one try to reboot after Jolie? You're right. This is it's the third version of the movie, but the second reboot would be the correct way to phrase that. My bad. ROG movie when?
Someone asked if this is a
We'll see.
laptop.
We have a music video. That music video is sick. I still watch that music video.
It is sick. Someone asked if we have a laptop unboxing today. No, we don't have any new laptops to unbox yet. The samples are coming in slowly. It sounds like Whitson is getting the Azoth keyboard tomorrow. So
Azoth is on its way to me. It's one day away. I really wish I could have had it to unbox today, but we'll unbox it next week, and then we'll do some content with it. I'm gonna like swap out all the switches and the keycaps. I'm gonna like custom build my own ROG keyboard, and it's gonna be dope.
Yeah, that's sick. He's a mega keyboard enthusiast, so this is
I'm
perfect.
the person this keyboard was made for.
Yeah, pretty much.
Straight up.
Exciting stuff.
And my J key is kind of broken, so like I need it real bad.
You've been struggling.
I've just been struggling with this J key for like weeks, man.
The last thing is Resident Evil 4 is, a lot of people consider it the best Resident Evil game ever made. I played it ages ago on the Wii. It was a really fun experience, but it was a long time ago. So I'm really pumped for the remake, but it sounds like they're expanding on some of the concepts and adding in more side quests and making the world feel a little bit more realistic and complete, kind of like the way that they did the other remake for 2, for example. And I can't wait. I don't know that we're locked into the end of March release date. There's been speculation that it may get pushed back, just because that's the norm nowadays for games to just get pushed back. But
well, especially like in the age of post-COVID, like any game that was in development during COVID, like inevitably has needed to get pushed back. And we're still kind of at the tail end of that.
You say the tail end, but we could be in the middle. We have no idea.
Don't say that.
You don't know. But either way, very excited for Resident Evil 4 remake. So should be good.
Yeah. I've never played a Resident Evil game. That's my gaming sin.
Yeah, that's pretty bad, because those games are great. But I get it. A lot of people just aren't about the horror. But I'll say the Resident Evil games aren't the scariest games by any means. Right?
Well, and it's not. I'm generally not a fan of the genre. It's not that I don't like scary necessarily. So, like, have you played Alien Isolation?
No, I haven't.
I've not played through the whole thing, but like that game is sick, and actually a great fit for what we're going to talk about today, which is surround sound and Dolby Atmos on headphones. That game is one of those games where the audio design is just, wow. It is creepy as heck, and very like, just the anxiety level. You can feel the anxiety rising because you just hear like little clinks and clanks around you and stuff like that as you're wandering through the ship, and you know that the xenomorph is out there somewhere.
If I had to ask you to name one game that was the most impactful game design or sound design for any game you've played, what would you say it is? In chat, this is a question for you as well. Number one sound design in a game.
Okay. Actually, I was gonna say that's tough, but you know what? It's not tough. And actually, this is a game that I wouldn't play with Dolby Atmos because it was so intensely designed around stereo headphones, and that is Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice.
Interesting. Okay.
Have you played it?
No.
You gotta play it. You gotta play it with headphones. It was recorded to be played binaurally on headphones, and so it's this woman who has these voices in her head, and you hear them coming from like all around you. It works great with surround sound or with headphones, and it is just, I like words can't describe it, honestly. And actually, so I do have, if you want to know my opinions on best games to play with surround sound. This is a little bit outdated, but I actually wrote an article at Wired a couple months before I started working here. Actually,
really? Okay.
I'm gonna put it in chat. Oh man, I'm no longer subscribed to Wired, so let me read it.
Wrecked.
I remember being pretty impressed by Gears 5 when I first fired that up in Dolby Atmos. Alien Isolation is on that list. Overwatch is another incredible,
really good
piece of sound design in a very different type than like the other games we're talking about. It's
not
as like a cinematic immersive, but in terms of being able to tell not just that there are footsteps behind you, but if you're really good at the game, you know whose footsteps they are.
Yeah.
And you will get all these audio cues for when someone's about to do something. And if you're really good and you're really tuned into the meta and everything, that sound gives you everything you need.
Blizzard is not a company that like blanket lays an asset on anything. Every detail is fine-tuned in that, and their audio is no exception. where every bullet, every gun, everything has its own sound effect and its own identity, and it can all be picked up with audio. So yeah, that's really cool.
Okay, so what is your answer to this question?
BioShock, the original BioShock. Yeah.
I've never played it.
Yeah.
I own it, but I've never played it.
I think that game and System Shock is actually another one that's just incredible. I just think that they're just so good at sound design.
Have you played them with surround sound?
Headphones, but not proper surround. Okay. No.
Well, let me tell you, headphone surround has come a long way. We're going to talk about that today. Both headphone surround and traditional surround have their place. If you have a surround sound system, boy, do I recommend like plugging a laptop into your receiver or soundbar or whatever and trying out some games with it, because it's probably one of the biggest upgrades I made to this gaming setup back here.
So my first proper gaming session with real surround, rear speakers, subwoofer, the whole deal, it is ongoing with God of War Ragnarok, and it's blowing my mind. So yeah, I get it. I remember being impressed by the first God of War and Spider-Man were probably the two first games I played with surround sound on this system. And yeah, it's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about this. We're going to talk about headphones and speakers, and actually just like laptop speakers today too, because Dolby has introduced versions of Atmos for all of these different scenarios. And it's a big kind of like selling point that we put forth on our site when we promote our laptops. And I worry sometimes that a lot of people don't know how to make the most of these technologies. And I decided today, as we were talking, that I'm going to write an article about this too. But let's start by talking about what spatial. First of all, I mean, so we're talking about games here. Did you know that surround sound in games goes all the way back to like the Super Nintendo? I did not know that. That's
like
impressive.
Donkey Kong Country on the Super Nintendo supported
32-bit
Dolby
gaming
Surround.
had okay.
No,
why
so
you
like
throwing me back like that?
Yeah, let's just do that for the rest of the stream. So there were a few games on the Super Nintendo, and then a few more for Nintendo 64 and further consoles that supported what was called Dolby Surround, or later on Dolby Pro Logic, which was, this is just a fun fact, this isn't even important to talk about, but it was analog surround sound. So it was a stereo signal, and certain sounds would be played out of phase. And if you were plugged into a Dolby receiver that could I don't actually know what the word is because it's analog audio, but because those sounds were played out of phase, it was called matrixed surround sound. It would unmatrix or decode or whatever you call it, take those sounds out of the stereo signal and put them to your rear speakers.
Mm-hmm.
Super, super cool. So like on that Donkey Kong first level, right, you get like the jungle sounds and stuff in the back. It starts raining at the end. That was a real thing that people could do if you had a surround sound system.
That's actually
It became
awesome.
much more popular in the GameCube era, PS2, things like that. A lot of games were encoded with Dolby Pro Logic. But it became much more accessible with the advent of digital surround, so Dolby Digital, because back in the analog days, surround sound was very expensive, required a very complex setup. A lot of people didn't have it.
Hardwires in your walls.
Yeah.
Were
so
must.
Interesting question in chat. Atmos versus THX. Any thoughts? They're kind of two different technologies. I don't believe THX is. I actually don't. THX is different today than it used to be, and I don't think THX is specifically a spatial surround tech, but I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. Atmos is more. Atmos is a lot of things. So to explain this, you need to understand how digital surround sound worked. After all that analog stuff, we came to the age of digital surround sound. So when you buy a DVD with Dolby Digital on it, and it has a surround sound audio track, it actually has like 6 tracks, right? For a 5.1 system. Left, right, center, rear left, rear right, and then a subwoofer channel for low frequency effects. And basically, when they are mixing the movie in the studio, they say this sound here should come from the center, this sound should come from the back channel, and so on. And then when you funnel it through your receiver, it sends the correct tracks to the correct speakers. In the age of Dolby Atmos, this is a little bit different. Dolby Atmos doesn't hard code all of those sounds to specific channels. What it does is when they're mixing it in the studio, they're putting that sound within a 3D space. They're saying like, this is coming from like kind of back here in this general like cube of 3D space. And when you play back a movie or whatever, your receiver takes your speaker setup and decodes if this sound is here and we know you have this many speakers laid out in this way, this is how it should be played through those speakers. So it's directing it to those channels in real time. It's doing it live. And this is actually really similar to what video games have done for ages, right? So any video game with Dolby digital surround sound was already doing this as it's calculating where different objects are in space.
Yeah.
So it's really cool that like movies and stuff have kind of caught up to this, and it allows a lot of flexibility with where you place your speakers, because a lot of Dolby Atmos also adds support for height channels. So I have 4 speakers in my ceiling back here, but you could also put those speakers 2 on the front wall and 2 on the back wall instead of in the ceiling. And it will take that into account and play the sounds accordingly if it knows your speakers are high up on the wall rather than on the ceiling. Does that make sense?
And if you have a home surround sound setup that you want to test, or you just built a new one or whatever, Dolby has some really nice videos on their YouTube channel that you can just play, where it will help you understand how well your spatial sound is and really hear it for yourself, which is nice.
And they have some of that in the Dolby app too, which we'll look at in a moment.
Yeah.
So this is really cool because it is kind of a match made in heaven for video games, right? This object-based surround sound. And Dolby's latest algorithms work not just if you have a surround sound speaker setup, but also if you have headphones. So this is another thing we've had for a while. We've had virtual surround on headsets. And the way that this works is that it takes the audio, whether it's a surround, some headsets will be recognized as a surround sound headset, and it will then take all of those channels and use what's called a head-related transfer function. That uses the way that our ears perceive sound to trick them into think the sounds are coming from a certain point in space. And a lot of this has to do with the size of your head, the shape of your ears. Like we all have slightly different shaped ears and heads, and everyone has a slightly different head-related transfer function. You and I are not going to hear it in exactly the same way because our heads are very different shapes. And
mine's superior. Yeah.
Okay. But the aim is for companies that are making these algorithms to try and adapt them to as many people as possible. And a few companies have done this quite well. By the way, fun fact, don't know if you know this, Linus Tech Tips did a test a couple of years ago, and on which headset surround sound formats were actually the most accurate in terms of helping people pinpoint objects in space. Guess which 2 came out on top?
I wonder.
Dolby Atmos and ROG.
Nice.
So, not even joking, just pasted that link in chat. So it's interesting because it does, in competitive scenarios, it could potentially give you an advantage in terms of pinpointing where your enemies are coming from. And in some of these more like single player cinematic games, it just allows you like this more kind of expansive sound stage, which can be really, really cool. So if you have one of our headsets, you may have 7.1 virtual surround already built in. If you open up Armory Crate, you select the headset from your list of devices. You can see right here, you've got a little virtual surround sound switch. Bloop, switch that on. And you can actually use that play button and click those speakers to kind of hear things coming from different points in space. And you can try that in your games. But these days, you also have other options within Windows. And because these are 2 of the best virtual surround solutions, you can try each one and see which works better for you. That's the nice thing about having like a USB headset with it built in, is you have a few different choices. So that's our solution. To get Dolby's solution, you have to download an app called Dolby Access. It is in the Windows Store. Now, the latest versions of Windows use a new API called Spatial Sound that add these surround effects to any headset. Even if you have like a pair of earbuds or regular headphones, you can add these surround effects to them. By default, Windows comes with their own algorithm for this spatial sound API. It's called Windows Sonic. But you can also download other third-party virtual surround algorithms that pipe through Windows itself. One of them is Dolby Atmos. To get this algorithm installed, you have to download this Dolby Access app, and then you pay a $15 license for the headphones solution. However, if you buy an ROG laptop, you already have a Dolby Atmos license. You just need to open up the app, and you've already got it. Like, yeah, you're looking at this right now. Did you pay for this, Jake?
Nope. And the app was
No, you
pre-installed.
did not.
Didn't even have to download it.
Exactly. So you open up the app, Dolby Atmos for headphones. There might be a button there that says set up. Although when Jake plugged in his headphones, that button just disappeared and it was just available to you.
Yep. I just plugged in the headphones and speakers. I did have to set up, and they want to be set up now that the headphones are set up.
Unassuming lurker, yes, I just explained. It's not, the app is free, but the license for headphones is $15 unless you have an ROG laptop, in which case it's free. Because it already comes with it. The other Dolby Atmos solutions we're going to talk about in a little bit are free. So the app being free is not like it's not a trick. Like some of the features of the app are free. The headphones is the only thing you have to pay for. Again, if you don't already have an ROG laptop. The ROG surround sound solution is built into Armory Crate. It does not use Windows' spatial sound API. There's not like a huge difference. It's just like it's just that Windows is kind of moving some of their stuff to one central location. So if you have Armory Crate, you can enable it with one click in there. If you want to use Dolby Atmos or Windows Sonic, you can do that through Windows Sound Settings. So let's actually show that right now. If you can open up Windows Sound Settings real quick. When you enable it in the Dolby Access app, it should enable it through Windows. But if you want to be able to turn it on and off, you can do that through Windows settings. You have it open already. It's in your taskbar.
Wait, well, the capture card stopped working. I'm doing it, and it's yeah.
All right.
There we go.
So if you go into your sound settings, you have your you choose your headphones down there.
Okay.
Nope, it stopped again. It froze.
What is happening?
What's up with your capture card, Jake? This is a slideshow. This is a PowerPoint presentation on how to enable Dolby Atmos. You select your headphones as your audio source, and then you have to click on that to open up the settings for the headphones. And down at the bottom of the subsequent window, you should see. There we go. Down at the bottom. Got to reload it again. There will be a little drop-down menu that says type or spatial sound. You can choose off or Dolby Atmos for headphones. That's how you turn it on for your headphones. If your game or movie is mixed for surround sound, it will take those channels, or if it's mixed for Dolby Atmos, it will take that spatial information and take that into account when it's mixing the virtual surround using that head-related transfer function. If it's not for mixed for surround sound, if you're playing a game that's just stereo or you're watching a movie that just has a stereo track, it'll upmix it. It'll use its algorithm to try and decide what sounds of that should be surround. And in my experience, it works pretty well. It is one of the nicer virtual surround solutions out there, along ours, like I was saying earlier. Some of them out there, not so great, but these two are worth trying. You can also adjust from within the Dolby app, like some equalizers and stuff like that as well. If you go into the settings thing at the top there, we don't need to go through all of that. But that's also an option if you want to kind of tweak the sound coming from your headphones. Again, and if you have an RG headset, you also have an equalizer within Armory Crate that you can adjust if you're using our virtual surround instead. You may even find that you like one surround solution better for certain games than others. It all depends on the person, on your ears, on the headset you're using, etc. It's nice to have these options. Here's what else is cool about Dolby Atmos. On our laptops specifically, all of our laptops support Dolby Atmos for the built-in laptop speakers too. So in the Dolby Access app there, you just left it.
I know, it's being dumb. Hold on.
That's okay. Laptop speakers, for our laptop speakers, because you have these kind of small speakers that are coming out of the laptop itself, sometimes you can get a better sound with a little bit of really good software processing, and nobody does that better than Dolby. So we also offer Dolby Atmos for laptop speakers. All of our speakers are tuned by Dolby for more spatial feeling sound. So if you're playing a game and all you got is the laptop speakers, you can also go into not Dolby Vision, Jake, the one on the left there, all the way to the left, the one that's a laptop. We're talking about laptops. Do you have Dolby Atmos for your built-in speakers as well? And you can enable that and disable that the same way that we did for headphones by going into the settings, choosing your laptop speakers, and going to that drop down and taking it on or off. But that should provide you some more, like a better sound stage on your laptop speakers as well. Finally, if you have your laptop or desktop hooked up to a TV and you have a sound bar with multiple speakers, like a 5.1 sound bar with satellites, or a full surround setup with a receiver like I have back here, and you're hooked up over HDMI, you can enable Dolby Atmos for home theater here. Again, no paid license required for this part. This is a bit different for the headphones version because it won't automatically upmix like a stereo sound. If your game was mixed for Atmos, you'll get sound through all the channels, including height channels. If a game is only 5.1, it's not going to upmix and use your height channels. You would actually have to turn Dolby Atmos off on your computer, put your speakers back in 5.1 mode, and then use the upmixing on your receiver or soundbar to upmix it to the height channels. That's just a slightly different way that works. That was like kind of a nerdy side tangent, but
and nerdy side tangents? No,
that never happens. So yeah, those are the different ways that you can use Dolby virtual surround and not virtual surround on your ROG setup, and it's pretty cool. I've really loved using it both in my home theater and on my headset when I'm playing games. Sometimes I'll use the ROG one. Sometimes I'll use Dolby Atmos. It's just like kind of depends on the mood I'm in that day or the game that I'm playing. Sometimes the ROG one is, just more my feel that day. It's I mean, it's kind of like an equalizer, right? Some days you want more bass and some days you don't. Some days you like this head-related transfer algorithm and some days you like this one. And it's going to vary from person to person, so try them both. I am just now going back to looking at chat to see if we have any questions. So sorry for the.
Is there a concert hall setting?
Actually, I think there might be. I'm open in mine. I have apps, Dolby Access and Dolby Audio. I don't know what Dolby Audio app is. Dolby Access is the one if you want to enable Atmos. No, there's no concert hall setting. So the equalizers, you have a game mode, which you'll obviously want to use for games because that has it has this cool performance mode switch that you can use to prioritize positional accuracy for competitive gaming. So that's pretty cool to have. But then there's also like a movie mode, a music mode, and they have their own little equalizer presets in there. And then you can also it has 3 slots for a custom equalizer, which I actually use on this machine because I have a different headset. I have a wireless headset that I use in this machine. And so I use the equalizer in the Dolby app, and you can turn the surround virtualizer on and off for your custom equalizer slot. So it's actually like a pretty powerful little app. But it's cool to have that option on your laptop speakers and your headset and any other speaker setup you have is pretty handy. Does the sound card matter for these? No. This should work on any sound card. Even if you have a headset that's USB, it should work on that because Dolby is piping it through Windows' built-in API. It works for literally any sound output. Now, the flip side of that coin is that it doesn't necessarily always know what type of sound device you're using. So I could probably enable, let me see. Yeah, I could enable Dolby Atmos for headphones on my stereo speaker setup here. It's not designed to be used that way. I wouldn't recommend it. So the other side of the coin is yes, you can enable it for with any sound card, with any device you have plugged in, but you need to make sure that you're enabling it for the correct device. You need to double check that you're doing it for your headphones and not the wrong thing. And you have to make sure that you're enabling it when you want it and turning it off when you're not. Because for example, my old setup here, my headphones and speakers went into the same DAC. So I would have to turn on Dolby Atmos for headphones when I plugged in my headphones. And when I unplugged it, because it's the same device within Windows, I would have to manually turn it off.
Yeah.
So these are the kind of things that sometimes you have to think about. If you're using a USB headset, like our Delta S or something like that, you can turn on Dolby Atmos for the headphones and leave it off for your speakers. And Windows is not going to get them confused because it's a USB headset. It's going to show up as a completely different
the lines are
device in
different.
Windows. And I think that should be the same if you're plugging it into the front jack. If you have 3.5mm headphones and you're plugging it into the front jack on your computer, it just depends on your setup.
Is there any chance that we start supporting Max Audio in the future? That's not really something we can answer. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, where's
this
Mac,
is YouTube.
Like Mac
MAXX. Max, MEXX
Max.
Audio Pro.
I thought he meant like Mac, like an Apple Mac, and I was
Max
like,
Audio Pro by Wave.
I don't actually. I'm not even familiar with that.
Okay, yeah. Now that's those kind of questions aren't really things that we have insight to, unfortunately. Sorry.
Yeah. $15 to your Microsoft account for Dolby Access. Nope, not if you have an RG laptop. I'm just going to keep saying that because I want people to make sure people know if
It's
you go
bundled with your laptop.
If you go on like a non ROG device and you go to buy it, it'll be like you have to buy this. But if you have an ROG laptop, it is free. It is built in. If I activate Dolby Sound, why does it sound so weird? It's hard to describe how it sounds, but it doesn't feel right. It's possible that you're enabling the wrong. I assume you're talking about Dolby Atmos for headphones, the thing that we just showed off. It's possible that your head is a very weird shape, and it's just not the right thing for the head-related transfer algorithm that Dolby has.
He's not being mean by saying that. He's
I'm
serious.
kidding. I'm kidding. Oh yeah, that is certainly a possibility. I would go into these settings that Jake is showing off right here and adjust the equalizer. Maybe you'll find that there's something you just don't like about the default settings, and switching to one of the different options within Dolby Atmos you'll like better. It's also possible that, Dolby's algorithm just isn't for you. Try out our algorithm in Armory Crate. You might find that works better for your particular ears. Or you might find that you just like stereo. Some games have virtual surround built in too. Like Overwatch has its own implementation of Dolby Atmos from before this was like a system-wide thing. I think Counter-Strike has its own virtual surround built in. Things like that. And again, some games, like we were talking about Hellblade, were not designed to be played with this on because they were recorded binaurally and meant to be played through stereo headphones. And so in those cases, you may want it off entirely to get the best surround effects coming from the stereo game, ironically.
I dig that we have the ROG logo, professionally tuned for ROG in the
I know
settings.
that is pretty cool.
Nice little touch. Someone asks, will the license transition from the laptop to your custom PC?
I don't believe so, but I have not. I've not actually tried that because I actually bought Dolby Access, the Dolby headphones thing a few years ago. I mean, Jake, you could try it right now. Check your desktop, see if you have it. But I'm gonna guess no.
I assume I don't.
If the headphones only have 2 drivers in them, does it make a difference for Atmos versus stereo? No. Actually, this was designed specifically for headphones with only 2 drivers because 99.9% of headphones only have 2 drivers. And I can't speak to the ones that have more drivers, but my understanding is that they're not as good as they've been claimed to be. So yes, it is a virtual surround designed for headphones with 2 drivers and designed for the way that most people's heads and ears are shaped to take in audio and understand that spatial reasoning. Look up some stuff on head-related transfer function on like YouTube or the web. It's really interesting, some of the stuff that has gone into this. Any thoughts on the RG Delta S wireless, asks Farlow. Does it have all the same features as the standard Delta S? I believe it does. Lucky is in chat, and she actually has the Delta S wireless. She can probably answer that more than me. I'm using the regular wired Delta S. I think the Delta S wireless is the exact same, but better because it's wireless.
Yeah.
That's my understanding. So I don't think you're missing out on anything by getting the wireless. I think you're only upgrading.
Only laptops are not included in the motherboard. I have an Asus motherboard, and I don't have the Dolby app installed by default, so I assume that it's only our laptops that it comes with. I believe this
is a laptop thing, not a desktop thing. Again, you can still download it on your desktop.
It's just going to cost you $15 for headphones,
which is worth it. I mean, like I said, I bought it and it's awesome. And you can, it has a free trial too. So like you can try it out. And if you end up not liking it, then you don't have to pay. And if you end up liking it, then you know it's worth the $15. $15 is not that much in the scheme of like all of the price of the games that we pay for, right, and all that stuff. You don't come out that far behind. It's either licensed in the driver or as a plugin. It's licensed in the Dolby app, and then it will appear in your Windows sound options. The same goes for other similar surround things. Again, it's just using Windows' API. So you're paying for the license in the Dolby app, and then once you do that, it will appear in your Windows sound settings. Hey, thanks for rating, PCHMG.
Yeah, welcome everyone. Welcome to the ROG channel where we talk about tech gaming and play video games. We've been diving into Dolby Atmos.
Sometimes at the same time.
Yeah. I think we're almost wrapping up here, though. I think, are there
Yeah,
any
we're
more
just going through
questions
some
in chat?
questions and stuff. Yeah. If you have questions, ask them. I'll answer them as best I can. I've been like nerding out about this stuff for years. So I'm a wealth of information just because of my own nerdiness, not even because it's my job. But yeah, it's cool. Experiment, find what you like. Again, like this is not your only option. We have our own virtual surround built into some of our headsets. If you, I think it's just our USB headsets. Once you plug one of those in and it appears in Armory Crate, you'll have that option within Armory Crate. I know you're talking headphones. Luckily, it's free for PC speaker-wise. I can have issues. I had to do it through my 3080 Ti using a second display for sound to the soundbar. That's interesting. I have not had any issues like that. Mine
That's
worked
very weird.
pretty flawlessly from actually I have a 3080 Ti too. And because I plugged the 3080 Ti into my TV via HDMI, or my receiver via HDMI, it just works. Like Windows just recognizes the output as a receiver. The display and the sound are both the same HDMI cable, and it works great. I just have to make sure that I enable it and disable it when I want it, because again, it won't upmix. So most games which aren't mixed for Atmos, you'll want to put it back into 5.1 mode if you have up-firing speakers. Here's, by the way, Dolby's page on gaming, where you can see a list of a bunch of the games they have that support Dolby Atmos, or at least, sorry, in terms of like the headphones, you can run any game and run it through the Dolby Atmos algorithm, and it'll sound good. But some of these were designed with Dolby Atmos encoding built into the audio solution, and those are obviously going to work the best with Dolby Atmos. They'll all work well, but Halo Infinite, Modern Warfare 2, Forza Horizon 5, Guardians of the Galaxy, I know Gears 5 has Dolby Atmos.
A lot of games.
Alien Isolation, like we were talking about, like a lot of games. So you can check out Dolby's site and see what games they support for Dolby Atmos. Which ones are going to support those height channels in a speaker setup, which ones are going to work best with the headphones.
I think this will be the last question we answer. If Dolby Atmos is good, what situations will you turn it off?
So like I was saying earlier, if a game was really specifically designed with a certain type of audio output in mind, so like Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, again, that was recorded binaurally. They used these really, really interesting effects to create that sound bubble already in the stereo signal. I would not layer any virtual surround algorithms on top of that particular game. For example, it's got a sequel coming out. It's going to be the same for that. Cool. Any other games that are similar to that, any games that maybe you find that some games, it just doesn't sound as good to you, turn it off for that game. Some games have their own built-in virtual surround algorithm that may work better because it's something that the developers worked with Dolby on or worked with whoever on to create that algorithm for their game. Maybe that's going to work better than Atmos does, especially some of those older games like Overwatch we talked about, Counter-Strike we talked about. You kind of just got to try it and see. There's no like blanket list of games that I can give you to like use these ones, don't use it with these ones. You kind of got to try it for yourself a little bit. Overwatch Overwatch has had so much audio design go into it, like we were talking about earlier. It already has a Dolby Atmos thing built in. I'd probably just use that instead of using the other one, but I'm sure that they would both work. Dolby Atmos does not work with marbles.
Maybe not. Guys, if you're watching on YouTube, you need to head over to Twitch if you want to partake in the giveaway. We're giving away 2 $20 vouchers to gamesplanet.com via Marbles on Stream, and the integration is only on Twitch. I'll put the link in chat. It's twitch.tv/AsusROG.
Not really. I have a Vizio soundbar with wireless satellites and a woofer. Atmos content is amazing. Yeah, that's the thing now. It's like we were talking about like Dolby Pro Logic back in the day. Things were really complicated and expensive. Surround sound is so accessible now. It's crazy. You use Sonos in your setup?
Yep. Originally, I just got the soundbar with the subwoofer, and I've since added the rear speakers.
That's the nice thing about Sonos is you can kind of build it out over time.
Yeah,
I have a full 5.1.4 setup in here with a receiver and everything, but in my bedroom, I just have a cheap Vizio soundbar that I got. I think I got that on like Craigslist or something. And yeah, it's got 2 satellites. It's awesome. It's got an up-firing drivers in the front, not in the front and back, but just in the front. And yeah, Atmos content sounds great, and it was like a few $100. That's crazy. If you told people that they could get a surround setup that had more channels than they have in the 90s for like a few $100, they would laugh at you.
Yeah.
Like, it's
I mean,
crazy
Sonos
how
is
easy it
not
is
that cheap, but it's
No,
definitely.
Sonos is more expensive, but Sonos, you have way more features.
Yeah, and it's really nice. And just, controlling it from my phone when I want to listen to just music in the house, whatever, it's just super seamless. So I enjoy it a lot. But that's the benefits of the Wi-Fi enabled.
Yeah. God Carsey says he said I'm more used to Atmos on like Blu-rays where it's on top of an EAC core. So like if you have a Blu-ray with Dolby Atmos, you can either use the Dolby Atmos track or like the downgraded Dolby Digital track. I didn't mention this earlier. There were some more steps in between Dolby Digital and Dolby Atmos. Dolby True HD came out on Blu-rays, which was went up to 7.1 channels and had a bitrate boost. He's asking if this Dolby Atmos for headphones and home theater and stuff also gives a bitrate boost to your audio. No, I believe that because of the way that this works in Windows, the bitrate is separate from the spatial sound or the either the virtual surround algorithms or just the ability to pipe that Atmos sound to your receiver. So you can get a bitrate boost by going to your sound settings and taking that format and making sure that it's, its highest setting. I don't believe that just turning on the Dolby Atmos spatial audio gives you a bitrate boost. You would have to do that through Windows settings, through the game. The game audio settings often have dynamic range or bitrate options in them, so you can increase the sound quality that way. But those two things are going to be separate when you're using a PC. It's not quite like Blu-ray, where you don't have a bunch of menus of options to like choose your bitrate and choose virtual surround and all this other stuff.
All right. Shall we do our giveaway?
Yeah. Sorry, I thought you were going. I
was waiting.
always just keep talking during the giveaway. That's how it goes. I always just keep answering questions during the giveaway because there's always more.
Okay. First and last place, since we're giving away 2, you got to cross the finish line first and last.
I'm still wondering what Yerf Dog 79's problem is. Why Dolby Atmos didn't work for you. Maybe try a different HDMI cable.
This was from desktop setup, right?
Yeah, this is the desktop setup where you had to like pipe in, like pretend it was a second display or something. It's very strange. I've never seen
really
that.
weird. Like,
definitely do not have to do that on my end. I would like 3 different cables. Well, I don't know. It could be your receiver too. Some receivers are just wonky, man. I don't know. Oh, you're passing it through the TV. Okay. Yes. Here, now you have the whole story. So if you are plugging, this is like a whole nother can of worms, and I could talk for another hour about this. Oh, now you're not. Okay. If you're passing audio straight to the soundbar or receiver, that's going to work better than passing it to the TV and then having the TV pass it to the soundbar. Usually you want to avoid that when you can, because sometimes TVs don't have Atmos decoding or Atmos pass-through in them. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes ARC is just a little bit finicky, the way that you have to do that. Honestly, on my TVs, if I can't do that, I just use optical audio and deal with 5.1 and don't use Atmos at all, because it's really this is more the fault of the TV manufacturers than anything sometimes, but sometimes they can just be really finicky.
Yeah, because I am running ARC
I can
out of my TV into my soundbar, because my TV is mounted on a fireplace with the HDMI cable coming out of the ceiling.
Right.
So it's kind of like running an extra line.
But you only have 5.1, so that's okay. You could also just run an optical audio cable, and it would probably work better.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe.
But if you have Atmos won't go through an optical cable. You have to use HDMI, which is why if you're using Atmos, do whatever you can to plug from your Blu-ray player or your computer or game console or whatever into the receiver or soundbar.
Okay, first place is Darth Devon. Congrats, Darth Devon. Type in chat to claim your win. Still waiting to determine our last place. Is it going to be me? No, Fletch.
That would be funny. Oh, did you just get yeeted? No, you're good.
I'm still alive.
If Asus wins last, we riot.
Oh,
Currently, my PC and PS5 are into a splitter going into the bar. I
Huh.
would try it without. I would try unplug everything, try it the optimal way with your PC plugged into the bar, and then. Yeah, I guess if you're using HDMI, you'd have to plug it into the bar, and then you can have the video going from the bar to the TV. Try that and see if it works. Using splitters, using TV pass-through, like all of these solutions to not having enough inputs are probably what's causing your problem.
all right. Darth Devin confirmed, and then I think it was Philinux. Nope, Beer Pong King. I lied.
Beer Pong King. Gotta change your name to Marbles King.
Yeah. Legend. Beer Pong King.
Although actually you're last place. So are you really the king of marbles, or
Very
are you
nice.
just a beer pong king who dabbles in marbles?
That could be it. Nothing wrong with that.
Jake,
All
like, you
right.
seem like someone who would have been a beer pong king in your college days.
You think that's a past tense? It's been a while, and no. Some of my friends are way too good, but I do dabble. It's a fun game. All right, guys.
Bill Nux is in chat. Okay. Oh,
Yeah, we got them both. We got Darth.
them both. Okay,
it was
cool,
Beer
cool, cool.
Ponging, not Philinux. Philinux.
By the way, someone very early on, when I mentioned that my J key was broken, they said it's probably because I'm just so angry at you all the time that I'm smashing the J key. And I'm like, that
checks
actually makes
out.
sense.
Checks out.
Yeah,
I like it.
Just check out.
You broke your keyboard.
Yep. It's only a matter of time before this Azoth's J key is.
But it's hot swappable.
It's hot swap. That's the beauty. I'm gonna talk this keyboard up so much. I'm so excited. You guys have no idea how awesome hot swap
Yeah,
mechanical
because
keyboards are.
I'll be honest, my W key has been on the fritz.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm always going forward. I don't go back in video games. I go forward. I'm not even kidding though. It's been like acting a little weird. So
I've had
but
that happen
this-
before. Like sometimes a little bit of dust will get in the switch or something like that. And sometimes
Yeah.
if you like depress it and you like blow it out with some air or something like that, a lot of times you can fix it up. But it's
this
really
is
nice.
hot swappable as well. So I mean,
Oh, it is? Oh, yeah, okay,
This
so
is
there you
this is
go.
the Strix Flare 2 Animate with I put
That's
Zelio V2s in it. So the Zelio V2s,
Yes, you did.
I can just take it out, clean it, lube it, whatever.
Yeah, that really, really is the beauty, because then you don't have to worry about trying to like fiddle with it. It's just like whatever. Pop it out, have some extra switches, pop it back in. Mechanical switches are rated to last a really long time, and for the most part they do. But on the off chance one of them does get wonky, pop it out, pop a new one in. You will never need to upgrade that keyboard for the rest of your life because you can repair it switch by switch.
The dream. And you can have different kind of switches and different kind of keys if you want, which is actually something that I want to dabble with. But yeah,
I've not done that, but I know some people are into that, like having like a heavier
See?
spring on like the shift switches and stuff like that.
North
what's
Valheim
the
near
face?
you? What? I'm just confused by that statement. It is going to be very cold. Yes. We are getting a cold front that is going to make, we're worried about tonight because we have mini splits. We have
Really?
ductless mini splits at our house. Yeah, we're pushing into the negatives this weekend. Yeah. So luckily we have a wood stove, so I'm just going to be burning wood because the mini splits aren't rated for like super cold weather. What's funny about that statement?
Something about the way you said, I'm just going to be burning wood.
Yeah, dude, I'm gonna burn it real good. Yeehaw.
Sorry, guys. I'm 12.
Well, I think that's gonna wrap it up for today. GG's friends. Whitson's got
is.
the giggles. Tomorrow we'll be back with some more streams. TBD what we're playing. Could be more Hi-Fi Rush. Could be something else.
Are we not doing co-op tomorrow?
I don't think so.
Then my day just opened up.
Yeah, I thought you were probably busy anyways.
No, I told everyone else I was busy because I was doing co-op.
Oh, well, I said, well, I mean, maybe.
It's all good.
I feel like
Doesn't
I'm getting
matter.
sick though. I hope I'm not sick tomorrow. We'll see. All right, guys. GG.